When we came here, that pine tree was standing straight up. Straight as perfectly vertical. And we got some pictures of it around here. And then slowly, that sucker leaned a little bit. And all of a sudden, why that tree starting to lean? And gosh, it seemed like 5 years later, the tree was a little farther. And then 5 years later, the tree was a little farther. And it finally fell.
Come out here, don't cut the grass. There it was, laying in the river.
Well, you weren't here when it went down, huh?
No.
Well, but it made a noise anyway.
Yeah, you don't know it.
I guarantee you it made a noise. It said, ouch.
The Trust for Public Land recently transferred approximately 31,000 acres of land from the Upper Peninsula Energy Corporation to the Ottawa National Forest. This rugged land along the Ontonagon River in Michigan's western Upper Peninsula, originally purchased for its hydroelectric potential, is now protected in its natural scenic state. A significant portion of the land, including 27 miles of Ontonagon River frontage, has been designated as a component of the National Wild and Scenic River System under the Michigan Scenic River Act of 1991. Before the land was transferred to the Forest Service, all year-to-year recreational leases were extended to 25 years and the lease fees assigned to the townships.
I missed the trip going to camp. You know, the solitude. When you got out to camp, especially our camp, was, you know, it's like I said, it's 5 miles of 2-track to get there, and the solitude. That's the woods. Not a finer place to be in the world than in the woods.
North wind blowing. Probably about 0 by now with the north wind blowing. Yeah, you gotta get a few gray whiskers to come up and down this hill. A lot of people won't come here because they know the hill. They will not attack it. They says no. Simple as that. I'm not climbing the hill. It's 300 feet from where we sit to the top. And it's vertically about, I don't know the game, like that. Best I can describe it, but yeah, it's not easy for a lot of people. Accessible wise for others, you could be somewhat fit.
Where are we going?
We are going right to that bend. See that little silver speck right there?
Mm-hmm.
That's camp. But we end up going down, around, and up. We're at the 30-6 camp, about 13 miles by canoe south of Ewan on the south branch of the Ontonagon River. About 5 miles, we always say, by ATV off the end of the Fair Oaks Road or Palvey Road, whichever way you want to take. And yeah, it's our beloved deer camp that we've had since 1977. All right, the gateway to paradise. It's definitely an adventure. That's what we like. For years, a lot of the guys would complain about the trail, and I got to say, when I was younger, it didn't bother me as much. And the older I get, the more I wish it wasn't as rugged. But it's tough. It's tough going. It's muddy and stuff breaks.
Last year I pulled a trailer in here, I'll bet you weighed 800 pounds. Corn and all the bait and stuff. Well, we did get stuck once up here.
Yeah, but not bad. The little black flies are starting to come out, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're finding us.
Yep.
But they don't bite. Yep, we have to maintain it to the forestry specs so that I guess other people can come in, which they're welcome to do. But it's a long, hard trail. But like I said, you gotta earn it to get to camp, which makes getting here that much better.
Isn't there a couple of landmarks that we normally stop at?
Yeah.
There's like that bench.
Yeah,
bed.
the old couch
the
we
bed.
call it. Actually, that's the place we call the Fender Road. This spot on the trail to camp is one of our favorite stopping spots, kind of a little opening here. And we call it the Fender Road because there's an old fender in the woods you can see here from a Model T or Model A that for years was hanging in a tree. Of course, the tree has since rotted and fallen over, but
Every one of those hills on the way in, they have little names for them. For all the pieces of equipment that were broken while trying to haul parts in for the camp. John D. Hill, Muffler Hill, Bird Hill, Sand Hill.
You have to have names for places in order to talk about them and to tell stories, and so you make up names. And it's fun, and they make some sort of sense.
Tell the Pecan Flats story. How did that get that name?
We were coming home and Ollie said, stop. He wants ice cream cone.
Was it during deer season?
Yeah. And I said, ice cream cone. I didn't believe it. I thought he was going to get a fifth or something. Here he comes out with pecan ice cream cone. So we took that road back, and there a buck comes out of the woods. And bang, I shot it. And I thought I'd run. I told Ollie, go turn around, come back and get me. Well, the deer dropped right on the side of the road. So we threw it in the back of the truck and came home, and then coming down the road there, I banged in one of them holes in that ice cream went against the windshield. Pecan Flats, Pecan Flats!
Now it's all memories and pictures. Gonna miss that old place. Already do, not gonna miss it, already do miss it. Go out there and turn around at the river spot once in a while and look at the river, which we'll do later, and we had one of the finest views in the area for a camp.
We call it Camp Woodtick, and we started our lease in 1987. We are located roughly 3.5 miles north of Bruce Crossing on the middle branch of the Ontonagon. From the tall pines up there on the point, I would say is about 300 yards. That's where the snowmobiles parked, where we came down from. Well, we chose this spot because our ancestors, they had a camp right in the same location, and it was a very nice spot. When I was a child, there was a camp here, and then somehow it got burnt down, and nobody done nothing with the land after that till we decided to. It was vacant, and you have the water here, nice spring. So we contacted UP Power, and they gave us a lease.
When I went and asked UPCO about a lease, they said, sure, which 40 do you want? Well, I had to give them a legal description. So we had to spend the day out here trying to figure out exactly where, and we picked a spot down the river here downstream a little way. Yeah, that'd be pretty good. That's a nice spot. And thought, well, let's just wander up here a little further. So right here in front, we just stopped for no reason and said, well, look, the bank's down a little bit right there. We'll sit right there and eat lunch. So we're sitting here and eating lunch, talking about the site down there and the pros and cons and how we do the driveway. And it just suddenly popped into one of us, why not build it right here? This is a perfect spot. So that's how we came to choose this one. We just stopped here to eat lunch.
One of the nice things about the middle branch of the Ontonagon River and its tributaries and its spring holes feeding the river. And I'll tell you, when I was a kid at the old camp, the 85, 90 degrees, and by the spring hole, you go down there, the spring hole feeding the camp, or the river. You talk about brook trout, just right by the spring hole. You just put a French spinner out there. It's supper time.
So the story goes, I was making
Well,
some
I want you
letterhead.
back on this next time.
The letterhead, I made a letterhead, and he told me it's from the Yellow Dog Camp on the east branch of the Ontonagon River, and typing it in there, put the picture of a deer and all that kind of stuff. But so he printed up 500 copies of this, and he's been still using the same letterhead over the years with the wrong branch of the river. So yeah. But yeah, we are on the middle branch, and we do know where we're at for the most part.
Camps along the Ontonagon River and its tributaries can be traced back to the late Archaic period, approximately 4,000 years ago. Prehistoric peoples established hunting and fishing camps and mined copper within the basin. During the first half of the 20th century, various branches of the Ontonagon River were harnessed to provide hydroelectric power, the watershed now owned by local power companies. Victoria Dam was constructed in 1931, and the Bond Falls Dam project was completed in 1938. The 1930s also saw the establishment of the Ottawa National Forest. The Upper Peninsula Power Company formed in 1947 through a merger of three western UP utilities: the Houghton County Electric Light Company, Copper District Power Company, and Iron Range Light and Power Company. In the 1950s, UPCO started leasing 1-acre parcels of their land to private individuals to build cabins for recreational purposes and hunting camps. More than 150 families built camps in some of the most remote corners of the woods along picturesque rivers and streams, many along the branches of the Ontonagon River. The year-to-year UPCO leases were automatically renewable but could be terminated at any time.
When we first signed the lease here, it was a year-to-year. And we knew that, but the history was excellent, and we didn't know anywhere UPCO had ever pulled a lease.
I was just telling Mom today, I remember sitting here and we went for a hike in the woods. I remember sitting on this spot on the hill and you guys saying this would be a great spot for a camp, and as a 10, 11-year-old kid, couldn't figure out how they were going to build a camp on a hillside like it was, but it's turned out to be a really good spot.
Well, the whole building process in itself was quite an adventure.
Very big challenge because of the hill we have behind us.
Building it was a zoo, remember that? Because this road is so bad that we had to bring everything in a pickup. There was no way to bring anything else in, so pickup by pickup load, we brought it all in here.
In the old lot of logs park, they had the old bathroom. It was made out of logs, so we took it apart. That was in 1988 or 89, somewhere around there, when we tore that apart and hauled it out to the river 5 miles with snowmobiles, one log at a time. 42 trips.
Took many trips up and down that hill by piling lumber together, binding it together and sliding it down a hill.
The big hill coming down to camp here, we used to have to take a rope and daisy chain our bikes together and lower the lead bike carrying the material down so we wouldn't lose it going down the hill.
Paul drove a load and dropped it right into he pulled through the roadbed and out the other side, and the overhanging 16-footers just kind of laid right there in the stream, looked a little beaver dam.
My brake man behind my four-wheeler, or my three-wheeler, and his front wheel dug in, and the last I remember was hearing him holler and looking over the side as he sailed into the woods. But he was okay, didn't get hurt, thank God, and all that.
So, yeah, we moved it. Piece at a time then. Had to snip the bands, lumber flies everywhere, floating down the creek. We're trying to grab that, carry it up the bank to reload the truck.
First
LP tank came in on a stretcher from the fire department.
Yeah.
4 of us carrying a stretcher
that
and a 100-pounder. Yeah.
And then in the summertime, we come back and pick the hottest week of the year to build a shack. And we were using the 4-wheeler as a horse. We would with pulleys and ropes to lift our logs up there. And the last 3 or 4 days that we were building it, nobody wanted to jump on the 4-wheeler and be the horse driver. Well, every night after we would be done working, we'd go down to the river and take a bath. And all 3 of us, we had pimples from the top of our butts down to our knees from driving that 4-wheeler when it was... That was funny.
And then even building the hunting camp. I came in one time on the road and there was 3 boys nailing the roofing on. They were really, really little. I walked back out. There's no way I was going to watch them.
I remember straightening out nails to tack the floor down too.
Yeah.
It's like, who reuses nails? 8 penny nails.
Yeah.
With our hammer, it had to have been 4-ounce hammer. 4 ounces, like a tack hammer.
Your mom wouldn't let you use a bigger hammer.
I don't want you to get hurt.
Back in the late 60s, my grandfather, Altun, or Ollie Curdy, and Loney Johnson and Kenny Ahla got together and built the camp. Who found the spot to build it here?
I don't know, me and Ollie, Loney.
And then that camp burnt down in the winter of '91, I think it was. The summer after, we rebuilt this camp here in '93.
This is a warm cabin!
Shut the doors, you little... Hey! Here goes the food.
Pretty cool little stove. The only bummer is with the small wood box. Like, so you wake up in the morning and if you're not firing up all the way through the night, you got frost on your nose.
25 degrees. 20 outside. Time for a fire. The stove was built by Tom Hadia, my brother-in-law. He had a company named T.H. Steel. Hauled it in by sled, slid her down the hill. It's going back up the hill. If we have to tear the camp down, yes, it's going back up the hill.
My name is Elvin Hedela. I'd like to welcome you to the Agate Hilton Hunting Camp.
Originally, it was no holds bar none. There wasn't. We were at camps that had a bunch of rules. We said we weren't going to have any rules.
Oh, yeah.
And we did.
Still don't.
Yeah. Back in the roaring 20s, you didn't need any rules.
Called Doe Haven, and it was my dad and Bill Kirsten's dad. They used to work at White Pine together. They worked there for years, and they're driving around. I believe they found this spot and got the lease, and they cut logs down, built the camp. It took them 5 days, $500 to build.
The Hillbilly Heaven Camp, the camp here was built in 1976. The first year, same year I got married, in fact, 38 years ago, and kind of crabby because I built it in bird season, and I love to hunt birds. And we had a lot of help. We had a lot of fun. Built with a hammer and nails and a power saw, basically.
Uncle Ernie said, well, I got the perfect name for the camp. He said, we're going to call it Tomorrow Camp because every time there's something to do here, everybody is saying, well, let's just do it tomorrow. Let's go hunting, or let's do this, or let's do that. But hence come the name Tomorrow Camp.
The Wyatt Earp is actually a fishing move on the river too.
Is it?
A Wyatt Earp is a fishing term. No. No, it's a fishing term when you're fishing with a friend and you cast directly over his shoulder and catch a fish right behind his back. That's Wyatt Earping a fish.
Altoon, he was a pretty popular gentleman, so he had a lot of people that would like to come out and visit, and kind of that's the namesake of the camp was called Altoon's Ale House.
Hector Peltola originally built it, so we called it Hector's Shack when we bought it from his son in honor of Hector. But it's also known as four W's and an L. That means 4 winners and a loser.
The loser's interchangeable.
Yeah, everybody's a different loser at times, so it's just one of our camp jokes, you know. Oh, you're the L today.
Started in the early 60s with my dad, Hector. And then, of course, my dad, Hector, died in the 70s. And so then my uncle, Harold, decided to build a camp in the late 80s. We sold our previous camp farther up. And then Harold built this camp in like 89, 88, I believe it was. This cabin up here door has never been locked. And that was one of the attributes I liked about Harold. And he just liked to come up here and enjoy people, enjoy the outdoors.
Sometime this week or next, a subcommittee of the U.S. House of Representatives Committee on Interior and Insular Affairs is expected to recommend that the stream flowing past Harold Peltola's camp in the Upper Peninsula be designated as wild and scenic and protected forever. In 1990, a bill was introduced that ultimately designated segments of 6 rivers in the western UP as scenic, wild, or recreational under the National Wild and Scenic Rivers Act. The primary purpose of the Act is to balance river development with river protection and conservation. The Act specifically protects rivers from future hydroelectric development. Opponents of the bill feared condemnation of river corridors by the federal government. UPPCO camp leaseholders feared removal of their camps. In March of 1992, the Michigan Scenic Rivers Act passed, placing branches of the Ontonagon River under U.S. Forest Service administration.
So when they decided, we'd only had the lease about maybe 10 years, if that, when they decided to sell the land, and we didn't know anything about that coming up. We were never offered an opportunity to buy the land.
And then we were under the impression when we built it that we would have first option to buy this land if it ever went up for sale.
It did come to a surprise to us. We weren't ready for it. We felt, as being leaseholders and stuff, we should have had an opportunity to at least buy. If they're going to sell it, told us. We weren't told anything. They just up and did it, and we were left in the dark.
So we just got a letter saying it had been sold, and sold to the Trust for Public Lands.
This is to notify you that this corporation has given the Trust for Public Land, TPL, an option to buy approximately 34,000 acres of land, which includes the land you currently lease on a year-to-year basis from Upper Peninsula Power Company, UPPCO. UPPCO is a subsidiary of Upper Peninsula Energy Corporation, UPEN. TPL is a national nonprofit land conservation organization dedicated to preserving land for public use. If TPL buys the land, they intend to arrange a simultaneous sale to the U.S. Forest Service. If this occurs, UPEN and TPL have agreed that you will be offered a 25-year lease to replace your current 1-year lease.
And we were told you can either sign that lease and stay 25 years and get out, or you can get out now.
You didn't have to take the lease with them. You could have, denied it.
But then what?
Well, you'd lost probably. You'd have to take it off. You either sign the lease and otherwise you lose the camp.
So that was it. Yeah. See, I didn't even know.
No choice.
And then it seemed like 25 years was a long way away.
Yeah. Well,
and we always hoped something would happen during that 25 years too, that, death do us part thing, but
The acreage involved was purchased by UPCO's predecessor companies to control water levels for hydro operations and provide possible future hydroelectric development. The lands, most of which are not in UPCO's service area, are no longer necessary for operations. River flows are now regulated by federal and state agencies, and new hydro facilities on this river system are not practicable due to the low volume of water involved and the prohibitive cost of environmental and regulatory requirements. The decision to pursue the sale of these lands was not made lightly. However, since the lands are not needed for our operations, we want to assure that any sale would protect the natural resources, provide for public use and enjoyment, and that current lessees would be treated fairly. The terms of the option do meet these goals.
2017, our camp has to be gone. So we've got 2 more deer seasons here, this year and next year, and that's it. Then we got to tear it down or burn it or whatever. And it's pretty sad, really.
In June of 1992, the sale was complete, and the Trust for Public Land transferred 30,693 acres of land to the United States Forest Service as part of the Ottawa National Forest. This land included 155 UPCO lease hunting camps.
The leases are still with UPCO, so they're not our leases. The land is our land, but not these leases. So we are administering the leases based on the terms of those leases, and we're honoring those. And we've continued to for almost 25 years, and that's been our intent from the beginning.
We are encouraged not to acquire land that have buildings or encumbrances on those. However, these particular pieces of land, this 30,000 acres, being right along a wild and scenic river and right in the very center of the Ottawa National Forest, it just made sense. And especially since we were working with the Trust for Public Lands, who worked with UPCO to, I think, to negotiate a 25-year non-renewable lease. So there was an end point for those cabins, and that land would be returned to natural vegetation.
Yeah, I think initially my feelings were, oh, well, good, 25-year lease. I was appreciative that UPCO did that on behalf of their leaseholders. I thought that was a pretty cool thing to do, and was just looking forward to the next 25 years. As those years go by, my feelings have shifted more toward dread of losing, of course, my personal opportunities, but much more importantly are the web of people who are affected positively by this place that was going to go away. I've seen the effects. Thank goodness I've lived long enough to see the effects over the lifetime of a child from birth to age 30, and what this has contributed to their lives to become a part of this.
Yeah, this is just not a men's camp. It's
more like
for
family.
everyone. It's a family camp. Definitely a family camp.
That's what you're looking for, your orange jacket so you can go out in the woods?
What I've learned from this place is probably how to actually be able to get away and use the woods and enjoy it. If not hunting for something, at least looking at something and appreciating it. That's pretty much what I've learned from being out here, is just being able to pick up the knowledge of appreciating the outdoors and using it a little bit too.
Just rub 2 sticks together to get that going.
See it.
Or
Come
just
on,
a
baby.
shovel full of ashes from the other stove. When you were 8 years old, your best thing probably was a stick.
I still got my stick
It's
gun hanging
unbelievable.
on the side of the woodshed.
Your stick?
The stick gun.
The
Yeah,
stick
it's
gun?
still hanging out there. A little piece of tubing on top of a stick.
It's unbelievable what you can do with a stick.
And every time we mention we're coming out here, they're chomping at the bit. I never tell them a week in advance because it's all out here for a week. We tell them the day of, we're going to camp. And they'll play outside for hours. Doesn't matter what the weather is.
Happy birthday, dear Colton. Happy birthday to you. One more time. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday. Hey, Colton, blow your candles out.
Make a wish and blow them out.
It's a highlight for Colton. His birthday's, today, October 5th, and he's had several birthday parties out here at camp. I've got pictures of him out on the deck eating chocolate cake at a year old. Hey. Yeah. Not a bad backdrop for a 1-year-old to have a birthday party at. Wow, look at that.
Thanks.
Hunting
Whoa,
vest.
look at
and
that.
A hunting jacket.
Hunting
Say.
Thank you.
Jake.
Right on.
Oh, that looks nice,
That way
Cole.
we can see if you're.
That's a nice
You
vest.
can see when you're opening your door.
Yay! Now we can go get a bird.
This is for me.
Thanks. Hey, look, Mom.
You don't know. Careful. You don't have to tear the box. Or open the box.
The baby is old.
Careful.
Now he's sweaty.
What is that?
Pocket knife. Now he's
Oh
old.
no, you can have candy. Here we are at camp. We're disconnected from technology. And, you know, we sit and play more games with the kids and, you know, look at the stars, take us out and tell stories.
Oh, Bob. Here's you reading Colton a book. At the stream. Me and Bob catch fish in the stream. Period. We catch big fish and little fish. Period. In the stream, we scoop water into buckets and bring them back up to the sauna. The end.
Go over there. Go over there.
In the youth hunt last year, he shot his second deer right back here behind the camp. Him and Billy were sitting in the stand there one afternoon and dropped it right in his tracks. You know, he was. I was probably more excited and more proud than than he was. As I was watching out the window and they're sitting back in the blind here and dropped it right there. It was something else. It was a very memorable moment. I'll never forget it. You know.
I mean, I got the best memories of my life here with my dad. He showed me, you know, how to hunt, how to fish, how to do everything here, you know, and I lost my dad when I was 13 years old. So I can say the best memories I have pretty much all my life of my dad have been right here, you know. It's just sad to see, if we do lose it, that our kids won't be able to appreciate it and do the same things and learn the same things how my dad taught me, I guess I could say.
My oldest daughter, actually, on the way out here, almost made me cry. She says, I want to be able to bring my kids to camp, you know. I was like, wow, yeah, well, I don't think it's going to happen, but hopefully people are trying to make a difference, you know. It'd be nice to be able to have this place for her kids to see. And
Stand up.
We have lucky. Hot dog. There's something about peanut butter and jelly. Hamburgers, fries. Mars. Oh. Right.
Every one of my kids, and they're adults now and have kids of their own, and Pete's kids, every one of them caught their first brook trout right here. most of my sons, I got 3 sons, shot their first deer here. My grandkids were here just a few weeks ago. All my grandkids caught their first trout here. And I mean, if the Forest Service cares about promoting wildlife and people being out and enjoying nature, they should come and see that. Like today with the ATVers here. And a month ago when my grandkids were swimming in the river here, I mean, they're gonna lock this place up. It just doesn't make sense. We promote outdoor activities.
And that's what concerns me about taking these camps away and putting the land away, is that we're removing that opportunity for all these kids to grow up having an experience and future generations to have a true wilderness experience because these camps are here, not because they're gone.
And to recognize what the wilderness experience is, that it's not just that popping in here for a photo shoot. It is, you know, sitting here on the river, listen to it. You know, it's just a special place. And while it's really a good idea to say, you know, we need to save this, there's nothing that we are presently doing that is contrary to that. We're the best stewards of this place.
And part of the uphill battle, I think, that this scenario, that these camps are facing is, I've watched this mentality within the government or these departments to suggest, they don't say it outright, but they do in their policies, and they do it through the rulemaking process when they suggest rules. And that is that, for the most part, any human activity in what they would deem to be more of a wilderness type area or remote areas is always in the negative. And therefore, a way to preserve and keep it as they see it should be kept, human beings need to stay out.
A couple years ago, I was fishing down the river. I was right around the corner. I caught a nice big brook trout. And Colton and my dad were sitting on the deck, and I held up that trout. Boom. Slipped right back into the river. That thing must have been
between your eyes.
As I was growing up, Altoon would always tell me, Altoon and Kenny, they both tell me, oh, there's big browns in that river. Well, I'd fish and fish and fish, and all I catch is these little 6-inch brookies most of the time. And then, oh, you gotta put your time in, And yeah, whatever. Well, it was about a year, maybe a little bit over a year after Altoon passed away. I was going to school at Michigan Tech, and I came down for the day, and I was fishing there's a little hole down here, just downstream from the camp a little bit, and just fishing, and all of a sudden I look down on the next to the riverbank, there is a huge trout. Like, wow, can't believe this. So I sat there and I fished for it for probably a good 10-15 minutes. Scared it off twice. Finally I took out a blue fox spinner. And I just remember right in front of its nose, and bam, I got it. But it ended up being a 5-pound brown. It was a beautiful fish. And you know, after those guys telling me that all those years, oh, there's big browns in there. They were right. I was really hoping I'd be able to show Altoon that one.
It wasn't a bad one to release, though. He was super fresh, so
Nice male.
It was a good fish.
Let them go, let them grow,
Then
they'll be back.
the last one I got down there was a female, and I took her right off the bed, and I casted right up in there, right in the perfect spot. There was like this much room to make a cast without getting snagged up on the brush. And as soon as that rapala got over the top of that brush, she smoked it. Well, I tore one of her gills, so we had to take her, but she only had 4 eggs left in her gut.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so she was
Pretty good.
spawned out.
She was done. In our case, we have hunting and fishing. Some of the best anywhere, any place in the United States. Just getting out there, but you don't realize how many fish we've let back in the river. We didn't kill everything in the forest. We did not trap everything in the forest. That way we get to see animals over and over and over. I've been seeing them for over 50 years in this spot, and my kids have seen them for however long they've been alive. So.
Yeah, we're gonna go for a little walk.
Ellie, right here. Look in here. Look in here. Look in here. Good girl. Hunt him up. Hunt him up there.
We start about 9 in the morning. I got like a 1-mile loop right here that I do at the camp. And then I got a big 4-mile loop that I do when I go out north with her. And That's what we do. If you stay off the trails, you don't see not one person, and that's how I like it. Just me and her. And we scratch and work hard, and we get about a dozen birds a year, and I get a nice meal for deer camp, and that's all I care about. Ellie, come, find the birds. Ellie, come here, right here. Look in there. Go look in there. Find him in there. He's in there. Find the bird. Find him in there. Find him. Look for him. Look for him. Good girl.
We had one gentleman, well, Ralph got a letter. He actually left a letter here. Ralph knows the story behind that a little bit better than I do.
His name is Marty Kepke he was a fisheries biologist for the state of Wisconsin.
And Sackett's, I left them a message, a note, stating I'd fished the area quite a bit, and would they mind if I parked at their camp?
I immediately called him back and told him anytime he wants to park here, go ahead.
And I said, if you happen to see a pup tent pitched by it, don't worry, because sometimes I like to spend a night in the woods and just head back the next morning. Well, about an hour later, I think it was, I got a voicemail. You didn't have to stay in no damn tent.
We gave him the spare key and said, go sleep on our couch if you want to sleep. He said he has slept in here a few times. He said that one evening it was supposed to rain really hard, so he figured he'd take us up on our offer. And he came out the next morning and there was a few inches of water right here in the lawn, so he was quite happy to have a nice dry couch to sleep on.
It's pretty nice of him. And I finally met them the last weekend of the season. And he said if we bump into each other this summer, that he'd show me how to run the generator and all this stuff. He said he'd do anything he could to help a veteran. And now we are right here. Basically, we're right here, just above the walking bridge, what I call the walking bridge 1. Whoop, there's one. A small one, but he's there. Just a little one, probably 6 inches. Okay, buddy, come on. Gonna put you back.
If these camps do go, these roads aren't going to be accessible to people to come in here and actually enjoy the river. Older people, they can't walk in here. It's a long ways in here. It's about 2 miles from any direction back out to a road. So without the camps out here, with the people using these roads, they're going to just deteriorate to the point you can't even drive in, and nobody's going to be able to walk out here and enjoy it, especially elderly people or handicapped people. They'll never get out here.
And I know I had a friend of mine contact the Ironwood office of the Forest Service, and he asked them, well, why do we have to remove these camps? And he was told by them, apparently, that, we're monopolizing the river. This area has to be shared by everyone. If they're saying that we're monopolizing this area, I just can't agree with that. I mean, if anybody wants to come down here, they're more than welcome to come down here. Anybody who wants to come down here and set up a tent anywhere near here, they're happy. They can come in and use my camp. I've got no issue with that at all, so I don't believe that excuse washes with me.
It's so everybody else can use the land, and the land belongs to everybody, and I remember saying, well, I understand that. We don't own it, we don't try to own it, we're just using it. We're just leasing it, we know that. Go out and find another place to hunt. It's basically what I was told. They just don't understand, it's not that easy.
They're not our leases to extend, even if we had the ability to extend, which we don't.
The Forest Service doesn't lease land anywhere. However, they do issue permits for special uses for on National Forest lands, like ski resorts or other items where somebody has a use that's not a public use, or it's a use that's restricted in some form or fashion, and so that does occur.
One special use permit that exists on National Forest lands across the country is a Recreation Residence Permit. The Recreation Residence Program was instituted by Congress in 1915, in a time when Americans were being encouraged to get out and vacation in the National Forests. Until the 1960s, private individuals were granted renewable permits to construct or maintain summer homes on designated tracts within the National Forests for an annual fee.
But as time has passed, as the decades have passed, it's one of those things that we no longer need to try to get people to come to national forest lands. People do use them, they do love them, they recreate on them.
In 1976, a moratorium was placed on the program and no new recreational residence permits were granted. Approximately 14,000 recreational residence cabins still exist on national forest lands across the country, 22 within the Ottawa National Forest.
We're following our policy as an agency. We're not the agency isn't establishing new recreation residence tracts, and so we aren't establishing anything like that because we don't have the authority to do that.
Moving these people out of there fits their ideology. So they're actually governing us through their rules. They're not interested in coordinating really with the public and with people that are in these scenarios because they don't want you there to start with. So they almost have the upper hand going in.
Back when the leases first came up, we held meetings, several meetings. They had all 120, at the time there was 125, if I remember right, there was 125 leases. They held a big meeting in the UN school and trying to see what we could do to keep our leases, and the Forest Service guy says, be lucky you get what you got. You know, be lucky we didn't shut you down now.
With the weight of law or the weight of rule, either one, they come in with the full weight of the federal government. And how does the little guy fight that? You can't. You're crushed in a sense, and you can't fight it.
With friends I knew that are passed now, we tried to fight a little bit, you know, but as they passed, and we just kept on getting the same word, no.
You know, I've almost kind of given up hope. I've quit fighting the fight at this point. I would love to be able to keep it and keep it up. You know, if we had the chance to renew the lease, that'd be great, you know. I guess if there was some kind of movement, I'd certainly join in. I've almost got the feeling that it's just peeing in the ocean at this point. It's just too big of a fight to take up.
I don't think you're going to get any support from the federal level agencies, the agencies themselves. You might hear from an agent in the field with having some compassion and looking at it and go, yeah, this really isn't that right avenue. But they're really not going to go to bat and fight to see that it gets changed. The rule is the rule.
You know, I think the Forest Service and certainly the employees of the Forest Service appreciate that was a fantastic opportunity for a number of people who were leaseholders, who are leaseholders, both in terms of recreation and to a certain extent economic activity in the area. You know, at the same time, there's a value to those leases ending and having those properties be available to all people who visit the Ottawa National Forest.
I put my sled in the river down by Kirtland's camp, down by Fensel's camp, about, I don't know, 25 years ago or something like that. And if it hadn't been for their camp, I probably would have died too, you know. Put that son of a bitch down and 10 feet of water and sitting there hanging onto the ice like this, and the current was taking my feet away, you know, and it was like, okay, it's over with now, you know. And I was kicking around and my foot hit a branch from a tree that was in there, and that hitting that branch was just enough to get my foot on the ice. But I had to let go of the ice at the same time to get out of the hole. That was scary, you know. So I had to let go and put the head down in the water, you know, for allow to get the leg up, you know. And holy Christ, you know, it says I finally crawled out of that hole, and I'm right in the middle of the river. I got the hole that I just went through on one side and another hole on the other side. So shit, I'm sitting right in the middle of the river. You know, now what do I do? Well, Dean come back for me, you know, and he tore a tree down out in the woods and laid it over the one hole so I could crawl over that tree to get there. And then he broke the trail to Kirtland's camp, you know, and then I walked to their camp, and And then while I was in there warming up a little bit, he took his snowmobile and drove and broke the trail out to the main road out there on the South Fair Oaks Road. So then we got out of there. I never slept for 2 days.
We hope they extend the leases. We, praying that we do that, or they do that, the federal government. But, we try to be good land stewards of the property, and we spend our money up here, do our grocery shopping and what have you, and get a couple taverns to hit football games and get a beer and burger, So,
we're gonna fit all this.
buy our gas up here, etc.
Throughout the summer, every time we come here, we buy our groceries and our ice and buy our propane gas in Bruce Crossing. We spend a lot of money, as do all the other camps in the local area.
We buy, locally, and we do things locally, and those people coming from out of town, they're buying a fender at the Big Valley Body Shop because they don't want their wife to know they ran into a tree. Lumber for the camp, roof, a window got broke, they're there getting that fixed. The co-op, if the co-op ain't got it, like they say, you don't need it, it's there. Your propane for your camp or your lights or your Outback co-op, A&A Hardware for those miscellaneous supplies. Yeah. This whole community right now, mines are shut down, paper mills shut down. There isn't a whole lot going on except our outdoor activities. Thank God we got them because I don't know what else would be left.
Look at the people on the ATVs today. They came here and looked at this and loved it, and they had a great time riding through the trails. 2 years from now, they won't be able to do that. They won't be able to drive an ATV in here. It'll be blocked off. And I mean, that's what we can sell. We can sell our outdoors. We don't have much else going on in the UP.
We're not the camp folks, no.
Bunch of bologna and
just cans you can throw into the fire and then pull them out and eat the Vienna sausage and ravioli. And
you hear stories of other camps where you got people that don't know how to cook, but it's always been like a tradition here that, gosh, everybody was always had their specialty and jumped right into the cooking, It's always been part of our deer season is the meals. Yeah. And I'm not kidding you, I've always left 15 pounds heavier after deer season.
Always.
And I never trudged through the snow and walked so much as deer season, but get exercise, but holy cow, the food.
He usually brings us.
Yeah, he usually brings venison feed, and he's got everything. He's got the whole kitchen tied up, and every pot and pan and piece of silverware used up.
Saute seasonings.
Yeah, all the special sauces.
He still won't reveal some of his recipes, though. But
Dave does the partridge, and
no, Willie does now.
You still do the wild turkey?
And Willie does.
Dave makes one of the greatest venison meatloafs I've ever tasted.
Oh yeah.
Smoke a big pile of salmon and have that all week and give it away to people that visit and bring some home.
It's getting hard to mix up the menu now over the years because we all expect them meals.
Yeah.
If I took it off the menu, I think everybody'd be really disappointed. Well, what did you do that for?
Lost.
We like certain things that we've known are good. We know how to cook them. We know we like them. And so the menu kind of tends to stay the same year after year. One time somebody said to me, since I kind of in charge of the menus and the food, they said, are we going to eat the same thing as we did last year? We eat the same thing again? I said, you haven't had it in a year.
Last year we had pulled pork with gravy, bear ribs, pasties. Got to have pasties at deer camp. We're in the UP here.
Lee's kind of a thinker. Every camp should have a thinker. And then you need doers after the guy thinks about it, then you gotta do it.
We hook the pump on the end of the pipe. And we come over here. And we pick this up. And we swing it out like this. And lower that down into the water.
when we had a dozen people staying here, you had to haul a lot of water. So when I finally had a dream and I dreamt this thing up, I got the Shack of the Year award after I came up with this one, because nobody had to haul all them buckets anymore.
Actually, this year didn't bring the little shy on room, so didn't bring the generator up. So we're gonna do a bucket brigade up the hill to get to fill that up.
We're gonna tie some buckets to Gigantor and put some snacks up on the hill.
Just run up the hill. Something like that. Yeah. We could still work out the details on that. But gotta have the sauna for sure.
Altoon always wanted to build a sauna out here, and we fought him on it and fought him on it. Oh, we don't need to be building a sauna. First year we had it, first time we said, oh my God, that was the best idea you ever had.
JG, my dad, Joe Gallatin, and Joe Glett Jr., Billy Kirsten. Sitting here while people are cooking dinner and taking a steam, that's the best feeling in your life when that deer's hanging in that tree. And there's snow on the ground and you're taking a sauna.
Or swimming in the river.
Whew, there's nothing better.
Hunting season is not just that 1, 5, 6, 7, 8 day period. It's the trips that you make up before that, to haul in supplies and all the fun you have doing that. This was some good hardwood from Dad's that we had. Can't find good hardwood out here. Got to cut just dead stuff.
Never had a problem through all the years we've been here without blowdowns and the good dry wood. We made some firewood for deer season. How's that, better? Got to go check out the blind, see if it's still standing. That's tomorrow. Sit and check. Yeah, good enough. I'm here every hunting season. Years ago, I used to be, well, when we first built it was all of us, Willie and Roy and everybody I mentioned. We all were here in the beginning, and other friends, but as we got older, some passed, and now it's just my daughter and my son-in-laws, and mainly it's just been two of us now. My son-in-law, I call him my son-in-law. I had to make Justin a rock wall. In case he keeps shooting more than me next couple of years. We'll hang it on that rope so nothing gets with it. Another buck on the wall. There we are.
Yeah. Ruby.
Yeah. Both maybe this year we can put one on each side, eh? I guess next episode is take a hike, eh? That's all eroded from way up there and around.
Oh,
Yeah.
look at that cut to the left.
It's gonna take. We're gonna have this whole clay bank open again someday, all the way to over there, like it was when we were kids. Actually, that was good, recent track.
Deer season is special up here, and well, I don't have to tell anyone around here how special deer hunting is, but the buck report on the AM radio every evening where the local scores are reported, but you know, the deer-wise, but the camps send messages to and from other camps. It's just, you know, occasionally there'll be a camper that you know of, or the person that they're talking about, or, you know, it just makes you realize how connected you are to so many places, so many people, just by coming up here, you know, a couple weeks a year.
Oh, and just so you know, we do have FM radio here in the UP now.
How is things going today at Loggers Alley?
Yeah, we weighed in 3 deer here today.
Okay.
And 3 call-ins, I guess.
Alrighty.
Todd Fetzel set a 5-point, 145 pounds. Dave Curdy, 10-point, 182 pounds. And Jason Vandenberg, 5-point, 120 pounds. That's over at the Fetzel camp.
Yeah, get up, fire up the old coffee pot, you know, you can smell the bacon going and whatnot, getting the old orange-clad army ready to get out in the woods, and, you know, smoke coming out of the chimney, and the young kids coming up, you know, just eager at 5:30 in the morning getting ready to go hunting with Dad. You're not going to have that anymore. No more camps, no more deer season, no more deer hunting, no more tradition, no more history. That's part of our culture up here for years, for decades. That's going to be taken away from us. Now, I understand the U.S. Forest Service and our government is really careful on protecting our species, our wetlands, which I am all for. But how about our culture and history as well? I foresee if these camps are gone, then nobody's going to use this place. This river will be probably, they'll burn the roads off, or maybe they'll make a big road where it'll be like a park. So, where does it leave the deer camps?
You know, this is going to be our 37th deer season. I can't remember, you know, maybe a couple little arguments, but I mean, hardly. We've just gotten along so well. I mean, it's more like brothers than friends. I mean, we're a pretty tight-knit group, and I think more than just deer hunting, it's just we can't wait to just spend 2 weeks together. I mean, we've been friends a long time. Never the 2 biggest bucks ever killed at the barn hunt. I believe this one was 89 and 95.
That was muzzleloading. I danced with my daughter. She was there. So yeah, she didn't. It's the first time she'd ever witnessed it. She didn't know that when you shot a buck, you got so excited that you danced around. Yeah, we were muzzleload hunting at the father-in-law's camp just down the river.
Deer camp, there's no better way to define being one in nature, and it's never been about shooting a deer. It's always been about the camaraderie with the guys and teaching your kids, how to survive and toughen it out and get through tough times, and it's been wonderful. I can't tell you the amount of laughs we had in this place. It just...
We don't see Uncle Corn that often, because he's a busy man. So this is the time to catch up and see what he's up to and tell stories.
And after about 4 days, everybody has gigantoritis or roscoitis or tippinitis. One of three. Mostly gigantoritis or MacGyveritis. Normally.
It's 6'4".
In some places.
Yeah.
Yes.
We have this Top Gun trophy right here. And last year it was Steve, Chris, and James. So we got the Top Guns here. Just wanted to point that out. See who's Top Gun this year.
There you go. Mm-hmm. We like doing the early thing. We're big bow hunters, so it's kind of nice to get up here and that's where it pays off. You're actually getting out there. You can't just show up the day before opening day and expect to see something. So that's what's been cool. And yeah, I don't know what it is about this place. I think about it all the time when I'm home out of season and summertime, and just can't, coming up to the trip, coming up to camp here is something I really anticipate throughout the year. So I'm already thinking about next year's trip.
I've got better deer hunting where I live, but it's not the same. You got to come to deer camp, and we've shot. Don't get me wrong, we've shot some really nice bucks here, but it's not about the hunting. It's about
the people.
It's about the people coming to camp, and it used to be my dad and the old people when I was young and my kids were little. Now my kids are big and now my grandkids are coming, and now I'm the old guy. Pete and I are the old guys now. We're the old guys at camp. But you know what? I'd love to see my sons be the old guys in here someday, but unfortunately it's not going to happen. I don't think.
First year I had my deer by 9 o'clock and came back to camp to get my dad and Colton. We went and hauled it out of the woods.
For us to build this camp now in Keweenaw County, the same size, I'm guessing, with all the restrictions, would probably cost us $50,000-$60,000 for a camp. Most people can't justify that, and it's the tradition of deer camp is going to die.
Well, the leases expired January 1st, 2017, and then at that time, any property that has not been removed actually becomes under the ownership of the U.S. government 90 days after that date.
It'll never come out in one or two pieces. It's 50 years old is what we figure.
The road coming in here isn't that wide.
Right, it's going to have to be taken apart and hauled away and probably thrown in a landfill or something. We're not going to be able to take it apart and put it back together somewhere else. Yeah. It's just going to be a complete waste of a camp.
Would have to remove everything that they say is non-perishable. Your glass, or your stoves, anything. And everything we want that we put into this thing as far as, our mounts, our table, things that mean something to us. Even the lumber, like I say, it came from my parents' property. If it comes to that, it's burning it down. That's gonna hurt.
I can't burn it. I could not burn this place. I I plan on taking it. My plan is, I told Pete, I said, I'm 70 and he's 67, 68. I said, we're going to take the camp down, we're going to put it in my basement. We're going to put the original camp would fit in my basement. I said, so I mean, I would love to do that in a way. Take the interior of my camp with the stove and the table and everything else and put it in my basement. And I'll call Pete and say, come on over, we're going to camp, and then we'll go downstairs.
But we don't talk about it a whole lot just yet. I mean, we have a little, and Lee has an exit strategy, I guess you'd call it.
If they're calling it, the end of it is the January 1st of the 17th, then we wouldn't be able to stay here deer season on the 16th. So our strategy is going to be just that, I guess. Tearing it down the 17th, or the year 17. And bulldozing it. But I mean, other than a strategy, I guess that's everybody's strategy, isn't it?
Got 90 days after that to remove it, so I might wait till the 89th day. So we'll see.
But we understand that this is a pretty unique situation, and so I know we have made the commitment to help folks to make it as easy as possible so they can remove the materials from those camps. So if that means working with those folks to find the right season, or to assist if there's some trees that need to be removed to get those camps out, we're willing to do that.
I mean, a lot of the talk is, you know, we love coming up here because it's a unique to this part of the state. It's a real unique scenario experience. But you know, if we're gonna buy something, do we buy this far away, or we get something over more towards Newberry, something a little closer, so we could use it a little more often?
I really wrestled with the question of whether it would be worth it to come up to a place that's not this place, and these people here, my lifelong friends, are reasons why I will probably do that. But I'll always long for the ambience of this place in which it happened. It's just,
there's so many stories in this building.
Little ones, big ones.
A friend of mine said we broke our old buck pole, which was just a stick lodged up in the trees, and he said, I'll make you a new buck pole. So I said, great. Well, I didn't realize he was going to do this. He did a first-class job making this out of steel pipe, and there's a hook up there, one for each of the four of us. But then his friends got involved too. They hauled it to the nearest bar and got together that afternoon. They were going to bring it in here and install it. But first they decided they should paint it Congo pink. So Congo pink it has been all these years, and now they put it on the radio. Every year they call in during the buck report, and they want to say hi to the guys out at the big huskies out at the camp with the pink buck pole.
Don't be nervous there, George. It's probably about, I'd say now, about 10 years ago now running, I had a partridge on the trail. It was there for 7 years, 7 years in a row, and I know it was the same bird because it always come to me. It started when I come down on the bike, and he'd fly and land right on the bike, and he'd sit there with you on the bike. If you went slow, he'd ride right with you. But it was always in that one certain area. I've got pictures of him. Matter of fact, I've got one on the back wall here, a big blow-up of him. I used to be able to sit right on the ground with him and just talk to him and like just pet his head with a piece of straw and all his hay, and he'd just sit there and make all these purring noises, and it was just awesome. And I had happened to be bow hunting right in that creek bottom that one day. And I got up in my tree, and I'm sitting there in my stand with my bow in my lap, and I can hear this brrt, 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 brrt. Well, here comes that bird. He's flying from branch to branch to branch to branch. And pretty soon he's right alongside of me. And I'm talking to this partridge in this tree. He's like, what are you doing here? I'm hunting. You can't be up here. And he jumps up on my bow, walks along my arm, up on my shoulder, and he's sitting on my head. And I swear to God, this is the truth. And I've got a chook on, a wool chook on. And he's sitting on my head, and my chook is going like this, and he's walking around on my head, and I'm thinking to myself, man, if I could film this, I'd be a millionaire. There's no doubt about it.
Going to camp is, it's your favorite vacation spot. It's a destination. Everybody calls it camp, and you're going to camp. If you know, and if you think about it, the words don't make sense. Let's go to camp. What does that mean? You know.
I don't know. It's almost like there's a sense of peace that comes when you say I'm going to camp. You just start to relax the minute you decide you're going to camp.
This is camp, and we wouldn't have it no other way. I mean, I wouldn't want power. I wouldn't want none of that stuff. I mean, that's not camp to me. I don't want telephone lines and all that. That's not camp. Gas lights and gas stove and the guy saying the same old stories around the table. It doesn't get any better.
I love coming out here and cutting grass and working my ass off, and
we love it too.
I love it. I do. It's how I relax. Frankly, I don't know what I'm going to do when it's gone. I'm frightened by that thought. I try not. I block it out. I want to enjoy the now, but I was 22 years old when we built this place. My whole adult life has been out here. Scary thought.
Time to move on. Well, whether it's this camp or the other 125 or however many camps there are, you won't even notice they were there. It'll be just memories of the guys that were part of those camps. And that's our Uncle Keith's coat right there. Probably nobody appreciated that. The Norwich Bluff and this area more than Uncle Keith.
Christ, I got to take them hats out of there. When I tear the camp down, I'm going to have to find another place to hang all those hats. And I was hoping someday I could hang my hat, or my kids could hang my hat next to my dad and my sister and brother and my friends' hats. This is Roy Boy Sornin, who I love to death. This is my father-in-law's hat. This is my sister's hat. This is another hat of my dad's, I think, yeah. When my sister passed away 2 years ago, she gave me this cowboy, she had this big cowboy hat. And in her will, she said, you got to give this to Bimbo to hang in the camp with Dad and Bill's, her brothers and her dad's hats. So it's hanging there right now. So I got to move one hat over here. My brother Bill's hat is right here. It's Cromer. And he was a beautiful man. He was a big old teddy bear. He cried when he got to deer camp, and he cried when he left deer camp.
At the end of May, we were all here and we spread out Harold's ashes on the river and around the camp. Really nice time to see Harold's friends up here. In memory of Harold. Person that really enjoyed his camp. I swear, his wife Dodo always said that Harold took better care of this camp than the lawn than he did our own lawn. He may be gone, but he's not forgotten and he's not lost, and you can still feel his soul with you. The spirit. And I think nobody more would be happier to see this legacy continue. And our forefathers of the camps that are gone, like my dad, my grandfather, and now my uncle.
It'll be sad to see how the camps go. You know, I spend just as much time at so many other camps other than just our camp. That'll be a bummer to see go. You know, there's, like I mentioned, Armis's camp. We go down there quite a bit. Elvin Hedela's camp. Joe Fensel's camp. There's so many camps that we go, whether it's on canoe trips or going out to snowmobile as a destination.
Yeah, you'd like to really see it live on, you know, but to move them, it's next to impossible. And, you know, the guys that built these, you know, they didn't build them to take apart. You know, they build them to withstand the rigors of Michigan UP winter. You know, you can't just lightly tack that together, you know. It has to be done with enthusiasm and vigor, you know. This has got to stand up to 100 plus inches of snow, you know. It's temperature changes, you know, this year from, you know, oh God, it's close to 100-degree temperature variations, you know. It's pretty phenomenal. You know, they're the testament, you know, they're a shrine. They're a shrine to the UP, to the way of life, to the history. You know, to come into this place and do this with no running water or electricity, people don't have a grasp on that. You know, that's just beautiful. You know, talk about getting in touch with your ancestry. You know, this is the way it was for everybody. This is how they live. Just the sheer beauty of it is overwhelming.
I don't see a way out of this situation. I completely understand why people want to keep their cabins. It makes sense to me. I mean, I get that. It's lovely to be able to have that, but this is such a unique thing. It was so unusual that the Forest Service acquired land that actually had the cabins in the first place.
It's looking a little tired out here, no doubt about it. We need to do some painting and some repairs, but you hate to do too much if you know you're going to be tearing it down in a couple of years, you know? So, just enough to keep it going, I guess.
I hate to see it go. All the work we put into it and all the memories, and let it be here for anyone to come and enjoy.
When these leases come to an end, some of those roads will remain open, some will probably be closed, but all those areas will be available for hunting, fishing, accessing the river, and they'll be available to all the American public. So it's not like there will not, these areas won't be available, they will be available. It'll just be a different use.
And here's pretty much, you can see the opening right here. This is where the camp was. You know, we walked in the door here, there was the wood stove right here, and we had a big picture window, bay window right here. And we had a loft in the back with a door going out the back to the woodshed. And yeah, as you're watching it go and you're tearing it down, you remember, you know, every time you haul something out, you think, oh man, remember hauling this in? You know, and it's like, you had a good time, you know, you probably shed a couple of tears even, you know, it's when it was time to pack it up, watching that last little bit of fire. You know, so long to a lifestyle.
When we knew we were going to tear it down and get rid of it this winter, we hauled all the metal out of here and all the stoves and everything. There's no metal now, just this hunk of wood left. And it's been here since 54 or 5, somewhere in there. There's been a few different people staying in it after my uncles died and my dad died, and almost everybody that started this is gone. And now this is going to be gone. It's a shame that it's got to go. Like I said, if I could get another 10-year lease or something, I'd put one up and be up by the 4th of July. But they're not going to let me. There's I still have some grandkids that have been out here as far as they're only 2, 3, 4 years old. I wish they could see it or have a part of it, but it's all done. It's a shame though too, because it's taught not only me stuff about the woods, my kids about the woods, all my cousins, and we've all been here. I dare say there's had to be 200 to 300 people sleep in that thing since it's been built. And now it's gone. Need a match? You want me to do it? I don't know if they're cussing at me from up there or if they're happy. Well, here's to it. Little tears. You don't have to put that up. There it goes.
Is that Marlite?
There it goes.
Yeah, oh dear little cabin, I loved you so long. Now I must bid you goodbye. I filled you with laughter, I've thrilled you with song. Your walls, they've witnessed a weariful fight. But oh, in my triumph, I'm dreary tonight. Goodbye.
Goodbye, little cabin, to you. How cold, still, and lonely, how weary you seem, a last wistful look, and I'll go. Oh, will you remember the lad with his dream, the lad that you comforted so? The shadows enfold you, it's drawing tonight, the evening star needles the sky, and but it's stinging and stabbing my sight. God bless you, old cabin. Goodbye.
The moon is on the rise, yeah, it's coming up soon. As you try to tell the truth from all the lies that seem to be coming through. I know you got hope for all that could be good, and what is will be. So hold on to your dreams. Hold on. Seems we're on the verge of everything, but which way will we fall? 'Cause everything's connected, all for one and one for all. Oh, Captain, my Captain,